Hello, my royal lovelies. Welcome back to the channel, and as always, welcome to my home. This is another live stream, but I am going to re-upload it as a proper channel video in the morning, so I know that the majority of you will be watching live on Catch Up, so please do make sure that you comment, like, and share. Right, the topic of today's video. I'm back on because I was left speechless. And it's not often that I am left completely speechless, but I was left flabbergasted and speechless at how Meghan does not even know her own surname. How can a woman, on many different occasions, get her surname completely wrong? And even now, after there was a furore about, I'm Meghan Sussex now. I'm Meghan Sussex now. Months later, she still does not know what her own surname is. So the thing that broke the camel's back with me coming back on today, breaking my silence yet again, was obviously her with Love Megan, the Netflix thing. I still only watched one episode, the first episode from the last season, obviously filmed back to back. So the second season has now dropped on Netflix. I'm not going to watch any of it. It'll just be more of her putting flower sprinkles on whatever she can. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she hasn't got a whole swimming pool full of flower sprinkles. She just puts sprinkles on everything, doesn't she? So so she was trying to promote the new series, and my goodness, it most definitely needs promoting. Um, so she said in an interview, because they asked her again, "What is your surname?" And you'd have thought that she would have been prepared for this question to come up again. No, she wasn't. She said that her correct surname. No, well, first of all, she skirted around the issue and she said, we like to use Sussex as kind of our adopted family name, and to a certain point, she is kind of right in that respect because obviously, Harry being the Duke of Sussex, they can use Sussex as their titular designation, is what it's actually called. So just the same as, for example, when King Charles was Prince of Wales back in the day, Harry and William used to use Wales as an unofficial surname, but their surname was still technically Mountbatten Windsor because obviously the Queen changed the surname rules, which meant that any non-titled members of the royal family via the male line would carry the surname Mountbatten Windsor, and that was obviously so that Windsor was still kept as the main sort of house name, family name, but still that the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, could carry on his Mountbatten legacy further down the line. So we have seen that name it emerge, I suppose, most notably with Lady Louise being Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor. Of course, James, now Earl of Wessex, carries a title, so he doesn't necessarily need to use the surname, but he does still have the surname. It's very complicated, and Meghan did admit that it's very complicated. I think she said she came to the UK as an American and then came back with a title and all the rest of it. So anyway, yes, you can unofficially, as a family name, use Sussex. So, for example, at school, if Archie and Lilibet want to be known, or Harry and Meghan want them to be known as Archie Sussex or Lilibet Sussex, that is fine. But in terms of your actual legal name, Meghan claimed that it was Meghan, comma, Duchess of Sussex. That is completely incorrect. What she is doing is using the style of a divorced female member of the family, i.e. Diana, comma, Princess of Wales, Sarah, comma, Duchess of York, why does she think that that's her surname? It's completely not the case. It would be if she was divorced from Harry, but she's not. So anyway, her actual surname, if she needs to use a surname in a legal setting where title alone will not do, and her title alone is, of course, technically Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. She does still have the HRH, can't use it formally, but for legal documents, she may be allowed to use it. In fact, she has used it in a legal setting. So where Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex is not allowed or can't be used, she is Meghan Mountbatten Windsor. And I do have some information about all of that. So where did I get all that from? I mean, it's common knowledge if you know the ins and outs of the British royal family, but there is an authority on all of this, and the authority is Debrett's. Debrett's knows everything about royalty, about etiquette, about titles, all that kind of stuff. So if it says it in Debrett's, then it is true and accurate. So I want to read a little bit of information which I took from Debrett's, and we'll discuss it as we go along. So, in the UK, Meghan's legal married name is not Markle anymore. Well, I think we all know that. But I know some people still refer to her as Markle. So, let's start from the very beginning. Meghan's full birth name from birth, Rachel Meghan Markle. Upon marrying Prince Harry, aka Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor, she legally became entitled to use her husband's surname, Mountbatten Windsor. Prince Harry's legal surname, when one is required, such as on legal documents, is Mountbatten Windsor. The family name used by descendants of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip who do not hold princely styles or peerage titles. So Meghan's legal married name in the UK would be Rachel Meghan Mountbatten Windsor and nothing else. So Debrett's carries on about titles. Her style is Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. She also holds the subsidiary titles Countess of Dumbarton when she's in Scotland and Baroness Kilkeel in Northern Ireland. Since 2020, although she and Prince Harry stepped back from being working royals, their legal styles and titles have not been removed. In summary, the legal married surname, if needed for legal documents, is Mountbatten Windsor. The correct formal style is Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. So legal married surname, Mountbatten Windsor. Full legal name, Rachel Meghan Mountbatten Windsor. Everyday style, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Just to summarise. So yeah, that is basically it. Meghan is wrong. She is wrong about her own surname, and I cannot believe it. It's really incredulous. It really is. I'm going to go and see from the live stream what people are actually saying. Not Quite Royal says, I was speechless as well. And also carries on, she is so insufferable. Duchess of St Andrews says, lower your BP, drop them. I don't know what that means. And Copper Penny says, hello to everyone in the room. Rediscover Locations with Sharona says, clearly she doesn't like Mountbatten Windsor. She probably can't spell it. And Not Quite Royal says, she is delusional. I mean, it really does blow the mind how one person can't even get her name correct. I mean, how simple can it be? Someone asks you a question, what is your surname? She just needs to say Mountbatten Windsor. It's absolutely shocking. Let's have a look. Okay. a new question has come in. Do we know for sure Meghan did change her surname when she married Harry? Yes, she did. She did. I do believe it was on the marriage register. Well, no, on the marriage register, you sign your name. Having gone through the process myself, you sign your name as you were when you got married. But yes, on certain legal documents, she has used, I do believe, Mountbatten Windsor. Not Quite Royal says it's almost like she's preparing to have the title stripped. Maybe. And Evelyn says perhaps she's preparing for when she is divorced. I mean, calling herself Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, that is the style of someone who is divorced from the royal family. Kipper says maybe she knows it, but just chooses to call herself whatever she wants. She can call herself what the heck she wants to. But when somebody is asking you in a formal interview, what is your surname? Why lie? Why lie about it? Why make up something completely different? I actually don't think she knows. I think this is the thing. I don't think she knows. I don't think she actually understands it at all. So anyway, I haven't watched any of the new show. I'm not going to. It's probably the same old drivel, concocted, contrived drivel that it was on episode 1 that I didn't fancy watching anymore. I mean, once you've seen her put flower sprinkles on one thing, and once you've seen one, hired friend fawning over her, and you see all that cookie cutter sweetness that is just over the top. I mean, she even admitted, I did read a little snippet from the interview, she even admitted she doesn't like baking. Yet she's got this kind of like lifestyle show. Do excuse me, I am recovering from a cough. Terry says, hi, a new subscriber here. In South Florida. My daughter and I love your channel. Well, hello and welcome to you. And thank you for subscribing. Sue says, I stopped by as soon as I saw the notification. Hello and thank you. So yeah, I mean, basically that's it. So do you have any other questions about anything that's been going on recently? I did want to talk a little bit about William and Catherine as well, because one of the things that I've heard being put out falsely is that, especially from Sussex squad supporters of Harry and Meghan, is that William and Catherine are on their seventh holiday. Seventh holiday. At the most, it's 4. And to be perfectly honest, I don't count up at Scotland in Balmoral as a holiday as such, because it's during the school kids' holidays and they always go. So, literally the diary is cleared. It's not time off that they don't normally take, it's not scheduled time off. And to be honest, quite a few of their holidays have been taken during school holidays. And I think some of the confirmed holidays that we have are 2 skiing trips, one sort of sailing holiday where they were on a yacht, and people are obviously saying that they're now up in Balmoral. Well, let me see what people are saying. Yeah, I don't count Balmoral as being necessarily, it's the break, but they were off anyway. I mean, whether they spent it, I mean, it's basically staying with family. It's, would you, I do apologise, I am recovering from COVID, and I've still got a lingering cough. I'm okay. Would you class going to stay with, your folks as a holiday as such? Anyway, the kids are off school. It doesn't matter whether they were in Windsor or Anmer or wherever. The kids are on holiday. We did get to see William, Catherine and the children at Craffy Kirk for Sunday service, and much was made of Catherine's lighter blonde hair. And I have to say, I think it looks rather good, but I think the publication that I read got it a little bit wrong. They were saying that she dyed it, that she'd gone several shades lighter, and I disagree on that one. I mean, I can't be 100% certain it's not been dyed lighter, but I don't think so. I think what happened to Catherine's hair is exactly the same as what happens to my own hair, and that is that in the summer, if you spend lots of time outdoors, which I'm hoping she has, had lots of chance to be outdoorsy, because I know she likes being outdoors and doing lots of gardening and that kind of thing, your hair gets lighter in the sun. Now, it doesn't happen to everyone, not everyone's hair goes lighter in the sun, but mine does. When I was younger, I started off blonde and then I went darker, and then whenever I go in the sun, it just lightens up and it looks exactly the same as Catherine's, to be quite honest. I have mine touched up back to dark, but when my hair dye wears out, mine is quite light and fair. So I think that's what's happened. I don't think she's had it dyed lighter. I think she's just spent lots of time in the sun, and that's a good thing because hopefully it will aid, her recovery and all the rest of it. So yeah, it was really, really lovely seeing them up at church and seeing them all together as well, which is, another thing, I suppose, that got me thinking about, that we do see the Wales children growing up. And although, we don't get a morning routine from, Catherine's not on social media posting morning routines and fit checks, outfit checks, and, we're not seeing what goes in their lunchbox and all these different intrusive things, but we do get to see them. Every few months we see little snippets of them. So when you think about it, we don't actually know terribly too much about what goes on in their lives. So William and Catherine have done a very, very good job of protecting their family's privacy, whilst also sort of having this illusion that we all know what's going on because we do have regular access. So I actually think that they have navigated this sort of media world, and not just the traditional media world, but also the social media world. I think they've negotiated it really, really well, in the fact that the kids have, pretty much grown up with privacy. I mean, let's just, the details that we know about them are actually quite thin on the ground, but we feel like we know them because we've seen them. We've seen them at all of the important moments, and we will continue to see them. And it's important that we continue to see them because one day, they are going to be the top players on the royal stage. So it's important that we are introduced to them, and it's important that they are introduced to the media and to the British public and public life in general. So I think William and Catherine have actually done a very, very good job of doing that. I just thought I'd make that point because I have been thinking about that recently. Evelyn says, if people are thinking to cause a rift between William and Catherine, they are sorely mistaken. I think William and Catherine are incredibly strong. Sue Prost says, as long as she's well, who cares? It's wonderful if she's out and about. I would agree with you entirely. And Kipper says, we see the Wales children enough to be invested in watching them grow up. And that is how it should be. Like I said before, we don't need to know their morning routine. We don't need to know, what pyjamas they wear to go to bed in. We don't need to see them doing the weekly shop. I mean, it'd be very interesting if they did. I'm sure people would watch it. But we don't need to see that, and we haven't seen that. So, what sort of I don't really understand is why couldn't Harry and Meghan do the same thing? And largely the press have left William and Catherine alone. The only backlash the press have given recently is when William and Catherine or Kensington Palace gave them a little bit of a runaround when it came to the Forest Lodge story. And then we got a bit of, well, basically, the Daily Mail decided to give William and Catherine a bit of a slap, and remind them that they could also give bad press as well as good press, which I think was a horrendous thing to do. And another thing I want to address as well is we had lots of the Sussex squad infiltrated my comments of the video that I made about that, claiming double standard. How dare I? How dare I be outraged when the press give bad press to William and Catherine and bully them, when I was jumping for joy apparently when when the media were bullying Harry and Meghan? Well, let me tell you something. These people that were saying those comments didn't watch the video, because in the video I said quite clearly why it wasn't a double standard. And I'll reiterate it again for those who might need to hear it again because they don't have any comprehension skills. You need to use this, my loves, before you use this and this. So listen up. The reason why the press bullying William and Catherine over the Forest Lodge incident is different is because William and Catherine continue to give the press access to the kids and access to their lives, as I have just demonstrated and spoken about. Harry and Meghan, before Archie was even born, started waging war on the press, withdrawing things. We had reporters coming out saying that they were on the same plane as Harry, and prior to meeting Meghan, he would go and greet them and be all jolly and happy. As soon as he met Meghan, changed completely, withdrew. Then we had the whole runaround over Archie's birth. So before he was even born, or when he'd just come into the world, we had Harry and Meghan withdrawing from the press, taking away access. So the press decided to obviously write all the stories that they did. And by the way, as it turned out, as it transpired, the stories weren't incorrect. They were actually based on some truth, quite a lot of truth as it transpired. Truth that has been confirmed actually by Harry and Meghan in the things that they have said and done in Harry's autobiography Spare and different interviews and things. So basically, the press were exposing them for things that they had done themselves. And that is why the press did what they did. It was because Harry and Meghan took away from them first. William and Catherine have been playing ball. Just one thing that they didn't tell the Daily Mail, and that was about Forest Lodge. And then suddenly, that means that they should get bullied by the Daily Mail. Well, I think that is deplorable. Harry and Meghan were a completely different kettle of fish because they basically poked the bear, withdrew right from the get-go. And, who can forget that letter that Harry put out warning the press about, about Meghan and, from very, very early on in their relationship, Harry turned on the press. And that's why it's entirely different to William and Catherine over the Forest Lodge. Okay. Tia says, hi everyone. Hope you feel better soon. I know that nasty cough will be around. I've been ill for about 3 weeks, my loves. I'm getting over it, but I've still just got a little lingering cough. So there is a difference between their surname and titles. Yes, there is. There is absolutely a difference. Terry says the Wales family deserves some privacy, especially the children. And they do largely get it. They don't really have anyone, well, they don't have British press following them around, harassing them on the school run or that kind of thing. If anything like that leaks, it's normally a foreign press, normally a European press that gets those sorts of shots. But normally the newspapers in the UK, even if those photos have been taken and they're for sale, don't normally buy them and publicise them in the UK. Harry Lloyd says they should take a leaf out of Princess Anne's book. Absolutely. Princess Anne is... So I've got an itchy nose as well. I haven't got anything up my nose. It's just a bit tickly. So if I'm touching my nose, it's because it's tickling me. Yeah, Princess Anne is a prime example of how just knuckling down and getting on with the hard work of being a working royal pays off in the long run because it buys you respect. Princess Anne isn't particularly flashy. Princess Anne doesn't care whether people see the work that she does. She's not a glory hunter. She's not there to self-serve herself. She's there to serve the public. I mean, Harry and Meghan do a lot of talking about, service, don't they? Or rather, they did. The epitome of service is actually the likes of King Charles, Princess Anne, Edward and Sophie, who just get on with it. They don't care if one photographer turns up, no photographers turn up, they still do their duty. They are there on the ground, boots on the ground, week in, week out. And Princess Anne has done that from the day that she left school. She's always been up there in the ranks of hardest working royals. So yeah, if anyone, if you can take a leaf out of anyone's book, it should be Princess Anne. I also had one other comment who sort of didn't really understand the work that that Prince Charles did when the King when he was Prince of Wales. And someone commented that he used to take loads of holidays and had loads of time off. I don't know where they got that drivel from. I don't know who they listened to, but that's completely wrong. If you go back in the court circular, it's all recorded from all those years ago. As Prince of Wales, the King was such a hard worker. He was away on away days, and he regularly competed with his sorry, with his sister, the Princess Royal, on who could be the hardest working royal, who could get the most engagement. So Princess Anne and the King, when he was Prince of Wales, worked like troopers. I don't know where people are getting these ideas from that he didn't work or he had too many holidays and was like this sort of, playboy prince. That's completely false. So I don't know who's putting out all this rubbish information, but you've only got to go onto the court circular to check out all of the engagements and the workload that the Prince of Wales, King Charles as Prince of Wales, had and still continues to do as king. Right, and I think that is basically it for today's video. I think I've got time for one more comment from Terry, who says, I have to get dinner out of the oven, so I need to get off here. It's quite late here in the UK as well, so I'll be off. Sorry that I'm going to have to miss. I think I'm going soon. There we go. So thank you for watching. I am still absolutely amazed and astounded that that Meghan does not know her own surname. Oh, quick! I had a quick question from Harry. Will William have an investiture? Good question, actually. I don't think so. We had pomp and ceremony when King Charles became Prince of Wales. We had an investiture. I've actually been to the location where the Queen placed the Prince of Wales coronet on his head, where the investiture took place. I've stood on the very spot. I do have an old photo of me on there. I don't think William wants the pomp and the circumstance. It doesn't have, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need to happen. It would be nice if it did. I think we all like a bit of pomp and circumstance, even if William doesn't. Personally, I think a new venue could happen, somewhere that could be classed as being a little bit less of a spend, because it did take a lot to get all the seating in place, and basically where it happened, it's like a ruined castle. They could move it to Cardiff Castle. Cardiff Castle is a lot more well built, and they could scale it back. There are certain rooms in Cardiff Castle that could be used for the investiture. It wouldn't cost as much money. Get the TV cameras in, scale it back. They could have an investiture. Doesn't have to be on the same scale as what King Charles's was. But I don't think that William is going to basically go for that. I mean, Harry's just said keep it in the... I get what you're saying, I really do. But if we're talking about venues that could be used for that scale, Cardiff Castle could be. I mean, I'm sure there are other castles further up north, in North Wales, that could be used, but the one that springs to mind for me is Cardiff. And I do know that Cardiff does get more than its fair share of attention, but if there was one to happen that could be done cheaply, I think Cardiff Castle could be a good venue for that, but I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, just had a few comments come in before I go. Do you think that Harry is taking bad press that might be directed at the family in England from anti-royalists? Could there possibly be a plus side? No. I don't think that Harry getting bad press is creating more anti-monarchists, and I don't think that Harry getting bad press is creating more monarchists. I don't think it's affecting anything that way. It's just an unresolved issue that just keeps rumbling on, and I think people are tired and fed up of it. Harry is becoming a footnote in history, and he will be a footnote in history eventually. And he's becoming increasingly more and more and more irrelevant as time goes on. Of course, he's done this to himself. Oh, Harlot Castle, yes, that could be a good one. And Harry says, also fun fact, Harry's name in Welsh is Henry. Spelled H-E-N-R-I. Well, yours is spelled H-E-N-R-I. Right, I am going to go now because I need a nice big cup of tea. I'm going to spend some time with the cats. Might have a few snacks. Maybe a nice cream snack might be quite nice. I do fancy something creamy of an evening. There's nothing nicer than, than having something nice and creamy sliding down your throat of an evening. Of course, I am talking cream cakes and cream buns. Right, I'm off. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll feel a little bit better in the next video. So, mwah to you all, my lovies, and goodbye. And Meghan, read the Bretts.